then you're gonna go ahead into account settings. So I wanna go over account settings. So the first top line here we have is company name. So I think we probably want to update that. So this is what shows up in the surveys. There's gonna be a key that you can add in your messaging that will just automatically insert your company name. So however you would want employees to see the company name is where you would enter it here.
If we have 4 different companies, is there a place where we could designate that, or does it just depend on the user that is sending it out, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we don't have that ability to add like multiple companies. It's just one company. I think if that's the case, then I would just type that out into your surveys instead of using this key that's taking it from this platform.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, and then account name is fine. And then if you have like a default reply to email, maybe like an HR one, for example, if people get the survey and they have questions, where do you want those questions directed to?
That's another one that's going to depend on which company it's going out for. So would we put it elsewhere?
Yeah, I guess that would just be on the survey itself then, each individual survey. This is more like it's just like general settings as like a
Okay.
quick way. But if you have different emails, then
I'll
probably
put-
might be best.
I'll put ours for now, and then as far as like sending out the surveys, we can put something else.
Okay. And then we're good below. And then if you scroll down, if you click on select from employee directory, you can find Christy in there. And then confirm. And there you go. She's added as an account admin. So just want to reiterate that unfortunately we can't like separate people into different companies. This is kind of like overarching the whole company. Right, so account admins are going to have basically the top access, and then later we'll go over how you can add like project admins. And then the last setting right here is going to be global report settings. And this is more like a confidentiality and privacy. This is more important when we get into reports. So basically you say a person can only view a report when there's at least 4 responses. And that way they don't deduct like who's responded. So let's say, for example, an employee or a manager has 4 employees. And like, let's say we set this to 1. So when a manager goes, hey, who filled out the survey? And employees like me, and they're the only ones that, responded, they know because the report allowed them to see at least 1 response and let them see the answers to their survey. And obviously they can deduct who that person is. So that's kind of what the global setting is, that, for example, in order to see a report, there has to be at least 4 responses in order to see it. Otherwise, you can deduct, who has responded. So if you want to, for test, actually, we can set that to 4, but that's just going to be the global setting for every single survey. All right, so that is the account settings page. And then I would like you to click on your name at the top. And then let's go to user settings. And then this is where, so by default, our platform will send an email out to say that you have employees that don't have email addresses. That's just kind of a system thing it does. So if you don't want to get those emails, you're going to go ahead and click on that disabled button right there. And then once you click on it, then it should say like enabled. Yeah, there you go. So now it's been disabled. Another thing I do want to take a look at, if you click on your name at the top, and let's go to employee directory. And then in the search, if you type in no reply with no spaces, that's where we are pulling up that these people don't have email addresses. So is that going to be, I guess, an issue? Yeah. So if how do you plan on sending surveys to people who don't have email addresses? How do you do that today, I guess?
They do have email addresses, so I think it's something that we just need to review and make sure is listed
Okay,
in Pro.
got it. Yeah, so this is all the information that's coming in from Pro. So you have about 159. So once you update those in Pro and our platform doesn't see that there's nobody with no email addresses, they'll stop getting those emails.
Is there a way to export this?
I think so. Try clicking on the like the all button right here. There's like a checkbox. Yep, I think that selects all of them. And then click on that gear. I'll take that as a follow-up item. See if you can export.
Okay.
Okay, alrighty. So that was just some platform settings that I wanted to go over. And then now we're gonna go ahead and just kind of dive into surveys. So right next to home, there's gonna be a tab called surveys. And then here on the surveys page, you'll realize like right under your name, it says you are working in project. So if you click on that drop down, we can say we want to work on a new project. And we can say this is like demo or test or something like that. So this is kind of where you can think of them as like folders. So if you wanted to, you can say, oh, these are surveys for company this, or this is survey for company that, if that is how you want to do it, up to you. But you can create different projects and you can create project users. So it kind of takes you to a new space just so you can have some sort of separation between your surveys. I think for now, we'll just go back to new projects since that's where some of the surveys are. Yeah. And then here's where I kind of loaded up some of our templates based off of what Amanda sent me. I think you mentioned you wanted to do like a 30-day check, a 60-day check, and then there's like a 90-day check, and then there was like a benefits pulse. So if you want, you can go ahead and take a look at those. Those are templated. Yeah, so it has, if you scroll down, it has all those questions. If you open up like page 1, for example, they'll tell you like the question and everything like that. But let's go ahead and create the engagement pulse one. If you go back to surveys at the top, go ahead and click on new survey. Oh, right there, new survey, yep. And then we're gonna do it from a template. And then we click on template. These are the ones that you have available. And anything with basically like that grayed out area is where it has like benchmarks. So it uses Mercer. You can like compare to like other companies from their data, like, oh, this is like the comparison between other companies in our industry or our size or something like that. They have benchmarks located in there. And then if you scroll down, there is going to be lots of other templates here. So you can either do a template or you can start from scratch, and then you can also just search up individual templated questions as well. So there's a lot of flexibility that you have in the platform. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll up. And then you're gonna go ahead and do the employee engagement pulse survey right there. Yep. And so we're just cloning that survey. And then here where it says survey title in this survey name, I'm sorry, right above, we're just gonna write like demo or test, just so we know this is the one that we're working on. Like maybe you don't have to erase the whole thing, maybe just like as an addition. Yep, awesome. And then here I'm just kind of gonna go down the line here. So we have title and description, what's going to be viewed to the participant, and then basically like a little blurb of what the purpose of the survey is. And that $ company name is where it's pulling from that account setting. So that might be an area where you would want to maybe put the appropriate company that you're sending out the survey. Yeah, right there, right? The last word right there, just before today. There's a $ company _ name. So normally when you're sending out surveys, it's always good to just at least tell the participant, how much time the survey is going to take, just so they can allocate time for it. And then right on the side here, we have primary colors and text colors. So you can go ahead and put in your company's colors here, just so it's a little bit more personalized. You can add that here, as well as a survey logo too. You can do email logos and footers. And then here's an option if you wanted to like have your survey in another language, you can do that as well. Just note that you'll be responsible for the translations of that survey, but at least you'll have it in different languages. People have the option. All right, so that's more like the pretty stuff. And then let's go back to where it says include employee name and greeting. So right under there. So you can decide when you want to use that. Basically, when they open up the survey, it says, hello, Connie. And that might be good for some surveys, but if you're like asking for constructive feedback, maybe they might be afraid that you know who they are. So you might not want to include that. That's kind of just up to your discretion in terms of whether you want to have a greeting and the employee seeing their own name when they get to their survey. And then right below survey type, you're going to have two options. And then you can click on that drop-down menu there. And this is like super important when you're doing surveys. I highly recommend that you do your surveys as identifiable. And it gets kind of scary because you think, oh, well, we'll be able to identify employees, and yes and no. And the reason why you want to do identifiable is so later down the road where you can basically pull up more data based off of demographic information. Like when we get to reporting, if you do identifiable, we can see different employee demographic information in which you're like storing from UKG Pro. So a good example could be, people who identify or people who are in like a different age band. You could say, oh, it looks like people from 18 to 30 are not scoring as high in engagement, while people who are 50 to 60 seem to be engaged within our organization. You can also use it like, oh, it looks like people in this location seem to be doing well versus maybe people in another department. Another identifiable thing is, okay, it looks like people who are reporting to this manager are scoring higher than another group, going to another manager. So I always recommend identifiable just because you can slice and dice the data. And that's really where you can do actionable things, right? If you just do anonymous, you don't know where that's coming from, right? So if you have a problem with engagement in a certain location, at least you know where to, have those action items be geared towards versus anonymous. So anonymous really is anonymous. And I recommend using that for maybe like a town hall or something. Hey, does anybody have any questions? And then you might want to do like an anonymous survey. The only reason why anonymous could be bad, for example, is because we don't know who they are. So they could technically, do the survey multiple times. So for example, you might send out the survey once, and then you might want to send a reminder, just letting people know that you're going to close it. And people are like, oh, I don't remember if I took this or not. So I'm going to just go ahead and take it again. So I do highly recommend that you do identifiable surveys, and that way you can have more insight to your surveys. Any questions so far? Nobody has any questions? Everyone's on mute.
No, I think we're good so far.
Okay, awesome. All right. So that's I would make sure that we do identifiable. And then here is where you can decide whether project admins can export results or can they. Yep. And then let's go ahead and scroll down to the questions. Right, so let's open up this page. So within this page, you have 7 questions. And where it says like, please rate your response to a statement or question right under at the top here, right under page 1. This is going to be basically a page prompt. So basically like instructions. And then below, it's just kind of a little blurb if you want to give more, just more descriptions here. And then where it says engagement pulse, that's going to be the page title. No one's going to see that. It's just going to be more for admin so you can like organize your questions. So let's go ahead and scroll up to the top. What's really great is you have this test survey button here. Go ahead and click on it. It's right above primary color. Yep. So really great is that, you know, if you're working on a survey, you want to ask for feedback, you just go ahead and send them this link here. And this link basically allows you to go through the survey and it doesn't count as a result. So you can kind of see what the verbiage looks like. So for example, you decided to add the name to it. So say good afternoon based off of the participant's time zone and then their name, and then go ahead and click on begin. And then this is the page prompt that was, excuse me, was talking about. So if you don't put a page prompt, it's going to take you directly to the question. So you can go ahead and click on OK. And then it takes you to the questions. And these are just like rating questions, you know, strongly disagree to, you know, strongly disagree. Yeah, so that's just a test survey. It won't go anywhere, but you know, if you want some feedback from your other team members, it's always good to just send a test link. All right, so let's go back to, you can close out this tab and go back to where we were. And now we're gonna go ahead and look at those questions. Just wanted to let you see what the survey looks like. All right, so anything that has like this half moon icon is gonna let you know it's a rating question. And anything with like a chain link is gonna let you know that this came from the library. So you can go ahead and just click on it just so you can kind of see what it looks like. For example, it lets us know that this is a rating question. It says type. So right under instruction, you can see type. It's a rating question and it's required. And then it may branch out to another question. So with the templated questions, you can't edit them. You have to, because there's like data type to it. So if you like a question and you want to make a change, I recommend just recreating the question. But you can, if you wanted to, for example, like move it around. So you can see where that that gear icon and that a bunch of arrows going everywhere, you can like move it down or up. So you can move it anywhere in the survey, which is pretty nice. All right, so that's just kind of what the questions look like. They are linked out, so we can't really make an edit. So let's go ahead and just make a new question. Let's scroll down and we'll let's add a new page actually, sorry. We can exit out there, add a new page right there at the bottom. And then let's open it up by clicking on it. Let's say that we don't want a page prompt, but let's title, page title other or anything. So you have the two options, right? So you have create question and you have add question from the library. So let's just go ahead and add a question from the library. So here is where you can see all the questions in our library. You can look at question type if you want to in that drop down. You can say, hey, I'm looking for more of a, let's scroll down, maybe like an unstructured, meaning like open-ended question. It'll show you those questions. Maybe you can view it by tag as well, right on the side. And these are just like workplace themes. So yeah, that might be a good question. You can check it off and add the question, which is really great. And now we can go ahead and like maybe create a question from scratch. So maybe we might want to make it like maybe multiple choice. And then maybe the question could be like, you know, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food, or who's your favorite, Disney character? So we can just do any fun questions like that. What's on everyone's mind today? Or celebrity couple? I don't know. And then here's where we can like add the choices. All right, got the classics. Personally, I like Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. Has anyone seen that movie?
Is she the one with the eyelashes?
Yeah, she's like the skinny villain with
Yeah,
Kronk. Yeah. I watched that movie again. It was hilarious.
I like that movie.
Yeah. I feel like underappreciated. And then if you want, let's go ahead and add an other question. And I want to show you what branching looks like. If you click on add choice, let's just do other. And then, for example, so what we're going to try to do is if someone clicks on other, we want people to provide us, what other Disney princesses that we haven't listed here. And then what's really great is you can randomize it, meaning it just kind of shows in a random order, not in the order that you typed it in. And then right below is where you can say, we can only pick one princess in terms of like maximum choices. So minimum choice is one, maybe maximum choice might be one or two. Up to you, but that's just kind of giving you options. Like they can't say all these princesses are their favorite. They can only pick one. So you can change that maximum number of choices right below the one. And then we're also going to check off this box called make questions a filterable option on reports. And the reason why I would just kind of remember this as a best practice, just always check off that box. And that's going to be really important when we come into reporting. So for example, we can say, oh, it looks like people who like Belle do really good on engagement. And it's just another parameter that we can use for a report. And then below you can use tags. If there's just more granular things that you would want to keep track of, maybe you might have a benefits survey. It's just a general benefits survey, but you want to see maybe reporting on questions that are related to 401k, or maybe questions that are related to tuition reimbursements. You can add a tag, but let's just go ahead and create a tag. Maybe we'll put like princess, I guess. And then go ahead and create that question. For the tag, yep, you're right there. Create the question. All right, so next thing I would want to build out is going to be the branching off question, right? We said other. So in order to do branching off questions, we have to add another page. So go ahead and add another page. And then we're going to add a question to that page. So yeah, we'll go ahead and add a question, create a question. We're going to create one from scratch. And then under question type, we're going to do like open-ended, like an open text response. Yep. And then from here on the question prompt, we'll say, who is your favorite, if other, please specify, or something like that. And then from there, so for the mark type of phrasing, you may want to use this if you have a question that's going to lean towards positive versus like negative, like a question like, what do you not like about work? And obviously that's a question that's kind of promoting a little bit more negativity. I mean, if you don't want the system to take that into consideration, you would say whether it's positive or negative. So it's kind of like what that theme is. We'll just say it's neutral for now. And then you can check off that tag princess. And then we'll go ahead and create the question. So the question is created. And then now we need to connect the two. So go ahead to where it says, who is your favorite Disney princess? Click on that question. And then you see where it says branch to other pages from this question? Go ahead and click on that green. And then we're going to add a question rule. We're going to say if anyone says other, we're going to go ahead and display that other page that we did. Yep. And then that's how you do it. I think it's already saved. Go ahead and click on add question rule. I was getting sure about this part. Okay. No. So go ahead and exit out. Apologies. I just wanted to see what it looked like. And then with that, let's go ahead and like test out our branching. If you scroll up, just go ahead and click on that test survey. I feel like we should have moved it to the top, but that's okay. Just go ahead and begin. Click on OK. We'll get to it. Just say OK. I don't think it's a required question. Oh yeah, we added that question too. Go ahead and click on OK. And then if you click on other, click on next, and then that's where it specifies, right? But go ahead and click on back right under, yeah, let's go ahead and click on any of the Disney princesses and then click on OK. And then, yeah, so it's not going to prompt you to that other page because we said only people who say other prompt that question. So that is working properly. Okay, so let's close out that survey. Just wanted to show you what branching will look like if you have like conditional questions. And then right next to the survey design tab, we're going to go ahead to manage metrics. So manage metrics is pretty important. Basically, you're asking, what are you trying to measure? And it basically groups the questions, like those rating questions, and gives it an average. So if you go into like engagement here and you click on that down arrow there. Yep, so you can see these rating questions are tied to the metric of engagement. So basically when someone answers those rating questions, basically when we get to the reporting, it can give an average. Oh, it looks like, you know, people in this location have an average of 5.6 out of 6 for their engagement, which is very, very high. So that's kind of what you're measuring it based off of. So let's go ahead and create a metric. You can see the one at the top. We can do one for energy. If you scroll up right by the plus sign. So we'll do one, I think you have to type in energy. I think you just hit space and it should toggle off or click on the, yep, there you go. So we have these rating questions or energy. I'm sorry, this is what we created, just a new metric called energy. And now we want to tie each question to it. So maybe like, I'm excited to do my work that's related to energy. Maybe I devote a lot of energy to my work. And then maybe I feel a consistent level of energy throughout the day. And then you can maybe click on done. So those are the questions that are going to be used to measure energy. And then in the metric description is where you might want to, so this is going to be shown in reporting. So for example, if a manager is like, how am I being measured on this metric? You might want to give a little blurb there. So we could put like test or demo, and then by the time we get to our report, you can kind of see where it lives. All right, so that is metrics. We do recommend that you don't have more than 4 metrics in your survey. Otherwise, it's like analysis paralysis. There's just like too many things to focus on. So as you're doing your surveys, would recommend no more than 4 metrics. All right, any questions so far?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right, so let's scroll up. And then what I wanted to last cover is going to be collect responses. Right, yeah, that tab right there. And then go ahead and click on collect responses. So there's going to be 3 options here. So what's really great is that if you want to send like onboarding surveys, like, oh, how's your first 30 days or 90 days, you can automatically tell the system, make sure you send this survey automatically after employee has been hired after 30 days. And then same idea for like exit surveys too. We'll talk about it in more details, but on the bottom, there's like an option for like termination date. You can send out surveys when they're like no longer with you. And a lot of research shows that people give better feedback when they are no longer with the company versus when they're in the company. Because they might be like, oh, I'm trying to be on good graces or good terms. I'm just going to say everything's all good and gravy. And then you might have some skewed data. It's better to just send it after they're no longer with the company, and then they can probably be more honest with their feedback. But we can talk about that later. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to collect responses manually. So go ahead, click on the top. And then right here, you have basically the option of like who you want to send this survey out to. Where it says like include in participation, go ahead and click on that drop down. So let's say I want to select some employees from the directory, and maybe I want to filter out by group, check off that box there. And then here is where you can decide, what company you want. Like for example, click on company ID. So maybe you want to only like 98 ventures you want to send it out to. So you can decide like who you want to send out this survey to based off of these filters that were in core. You have to scroll down those. I think those are like custom fields, but yeah, you can do it by gender or other, maybe location might be something you want to look at, or org levels. Yeah, so I think this is just a test survey, but I would just say cancel. Oh, maybe you want to remove those. Okay, there you go. And then here you can like select surveys. Let's say I want to do it by name. This is where you would add your like test participants. So you want to make sure you have at least like 5 people by the next call, just so we can truly see what the reporting looks like. And you can do that later, but just let people know that, hey, we're going to test this. We're going to send a test survey. Like I said, make sure they're very colorful in their language, just so we can kind of test and see what the system is reading based off of those responses. So you can either select a certain group of employees, you can say everybody, you can send the survey individually. So there's a lot of options there. And then next I want to go over choose collection style. And right there's going to be like a drop down if you can go there. So right under it, yeah. So there's going to be require authentication, and there's going to be do not require authentication. And this is going to really depend on how you want to send out the survey. So if you do require authentication, that means there's going to be just one link. So if you wanted to, you could put that in front of UKG Pro, or you can put it in the newsletter. But when they click on that link, they have to log into UKG Pro. So that requires authentication. But like I said, you can have it, you just have one link that people click on. But keep in mind, sometimes people get a little hesitant, right? They're like, oh, if I have to authenticate, they might know who I am. So that's just something to know. And then we have below do not require an authentication, which means that everybody gets their own unique link. So when they click on that link, it's associated to them and they don't have to log in. I do see a lot more customers use do not require authentication since the email is already sent out to them by the platform and they just click on it. They don't have to, re-enter their credentials into UKG Pro. And then right below it, you have a invitation email. Scroll up, or so scroll down, apologies. And then here's where you would, say who the subject is, let them know what the survey is, and give them a little blurb of what they're filling out. And then here is probably, if you click on the from name, I think there's a drop down. I'll have to see how you can, I'll follow up and see how you can like add additional emails. I'll take that as a follow-up item. But here's where you can send an email, invitation email, and you can kind of customize it if you scroll down. And then here's where you can say when you want that email to be delivered. And this is going to be based off of Pacific time. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then you can send a test email to kind of see what it looks like. You can click on that button just to see. And we'll wait for that to come so it knows your email address. And then right below, you can also do reminder emails too, automatically. It says add reminder. And then this is where you're like, hey, just FYI, make sure you do your survey and only send it out to people who have completed it because we made this an identifiable survey. All right, so scroll down. I think that is all good. So you can also send a test email if you'd like there. But if not, let's scroll up. And you can also like name this collection here. There's like a little pencil right by the new survey collection stream one. Maybe you might want to say this is like test or something. What's also really great is that you can have multiple collections. So you can use the same survey and say, oh, this is a collection for Q1. This is a collection for Q2 or Q3. And then you'll have these different collections in which you can compare data. So you can say, oh, in Q1, we did a lot better engagement than we did in Q3. So you can use the same survey over and over again and compare data based off of the collection that you sent out. All right, so let's go ahead and click on, you can click on save and then you can click on done.